No, Mitch. I'd
Okay.
rather you not waste any more of my goddamn time.
All right.
All right. Chips. What?
Definitely.
Maybe someone in this room won fantasy champion
Bingo.
because of it. Every episode, there's one take that just pisses.
Well, this isn't like a who you want to go on a date with. This is like who we think is good running. And you like your small, fast guys. I just really like to watch Nick Chubb, dude. The guy's just a animal.
Jesus Christ.
Get ready. Class is about to begin. With three white dudes coming at you with some heat. Welcome to School of Hot Takes.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the School of Hot Takes. We are finishing up our ranking videos. We've done the quarterbacks. We've done the wide receivers. Now we're getting back into the rankings with the running backs. We're going to go over our top 10 running backs. We debated doing 15, maybe even 20, but we were like, that top echelon of guys, it's too close to include them and then drop off from, the other 15 starters on teams that they're okay, but they're not like that top echelon. So we wanted to focus on the top, the best, the greatest. But before we get into our list, let's jump into our honorable mentions here. And Dylan, why don't you go ahead and start us out with some of yours here? I know you had some interesting inclusions here. So
Yeah. So I had Kenneth Walker first. I wanted to put him in, but I decided to put someone else in my 10th spot because I like to watch him more because he looks like an angry little guy out there. So I put someone else at 10. But honestly, by this time next year, a couple of the guys that I have in there, I think it's kind of their last couple good years of their prime. So I foresee he will be in there. I also have a small thing because I also really like Zach Charbonnet that's behind Kenneth Walker, and it makes me sad that we don't ever get to see him because of Kenneth Walker, and he's good. So I penalize Kenneth Walker for no reason. So I'm sorry, Kenneth Walker. Aaron Jones. Yeah, it's not at all.
He's better.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Kenneth. You probably are just better. But hey, by the way, I looked up Zach Charbonnet though, and he's 6'1", like 220.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was a freaking monster like that.
He's a power back, dude.
I'm ready for him to start.
Dude,
after Kenneth Walker's
I didn't know.
Here.
Yeah, because I thought
excited.
Kenneth Walker was big too, but Kenneth's only like 5'9", and I was like, oh, yeah. I thought he was a big guy too. But obviously, he runs great. Aaron Jones, I just think he's starting to get a little old. I'm not so sure what's going to happen in Minnesota this year. I'm sure he'll be fine. And then Travis Etienne, I don't know. It's something about the way he runs. It just pisses me off. That duck run. I just can't do it for it. I just can't do it. Realistically, my bottom 8, 9, 10, I could probably just put these guys in there instead of the guys I have, and it would be totally fine. But yeah, Travis Etienne, he's young. He'll probably be in there next year for me. I don't trust Jacksonville. Can't do it to him.
Makes sense. For me, I have Najee Harris, great running back. I just think, my goodness, the Steelers organization these past 2 seasons has just been so bad for him. He's had good seasons overall, but compared to some of these other guys that are going to be on the list, I just don't think he's that top running back quite yet. He might get there in the future. Not quite sure. I could definitely see him continually being in that 15 to 20 zone. And if he has a really good season, jump up to maybe 10. James Cook, good running back with the Bills. I just never hear too much about him throughout the season. You always hear about all these guys that we'll see later. And fantasy-wise, he gets you points and good starter. Just not when I think of the top running backs in the league, James Cook doesn't stand out among the best of the best. So if he can maybe stay consistent or improve and do better potentially, but I just don't know that I see it right now. James Conner, Arizona, he's had so much better success from the move from Pittsburgh. I definitely like James Conner, and I think he is going to be one of those players that always hovers around that 9, 10 spot. Like Dylan said, I could maybe put him in at 9 or 10, but I think there's some other guys I want to do a little bit more deep dive in. And Derrick Henry, I included.
Henry.
I don't know how he's going to operate with Baltimore this year. Lamar Jackson's very run heavy quarterback. I think we've talked about it before. Derrick Henry's going to be that bowling ball right at the end, who I think's going to get in the end zone and get you your touchdowns on like the 5 yard line or something. But as like an every down back or something, I think his time's a little bit past that.
Yeah, I strongly disagree with the Derrick Henry take, but that's fine. I'm sure we'll get into that. I do like the inclusion of James Conner and Aaron Jones on you guys' list. I don't have them anywhere on here, but they are really, really solid running backs. And I feel like they're always really sneaky good in fantasy, too. All right, my honorable mentions. I have Raheem Mostert. I'll try and keep it brief for these fellas here, but Raheem Mostert, I think, is a product of being in some really awesome systems. But going from San Francisco to Miami, and I think before he ended up in those places, there's a reason why he didn't make a roster for like the first 2, 3, 4 years of his career. And getting into those systems has been amazing for him. So you have to give him a shout out. Obviously, led the league in touchdowns last year. Was one of the best overall running backs, fantasy and otherwise. So you got to give him a shout out. Second, Josh Jacobs. That might be a little bit controversial, sort of like the Kenneth Walker take, or Travis Etienne take. Sorry, Josh Jacobs. I don't like the way he runs. I don't think he's particularly fast. He's kind of a strong dude, but like, I don't know. He'll probably get 400 carries this year and have like 1,500 yards, but I don't really think that that's good. I think he's just going to kind of chew and chew and chew that turf. For the same thing that I've got Isaiah Pacheco here. I think, unlike Josh Jacobs, I love the way he runs. You obviously see all those angry run videos on Twitter.
Right.
Or X, sorry. Isaiah Pacheco angry runs. Highlights are really cool. However, he is not very efficient. And when you actually like look at his numbers, he's not that good. And maybe that's, again, being part of a Pat Mahomes offense. And so I need to see a little bit more from him. And then maybe another controversial take here. I've got Kyron Williams, a guy who is not a particularly skilled runner. He's not fast. He's not agile. But he makes dudes miss. He can catch the ball. He's able to kind of bulldoze some people. But I think he's got injury concerns that make me think that he's probably not going to be a reliable running back one. And I think the Rams have obviously done some things in this offseason to make me think that they don't think that he's that good either.
Right.
Like drafting one of the best running back prospects in this year's draft, Blake Corum, early, calling Blake Corum a starter, like a co-starter on the depth chart. And then obviously Kyron Williams is going to be turning punts this year.
Right. That's what I was
Probably not a good sign that they
a little
want to
concerning.
lean on him. And I think that is because of the things that I just said. He's not amazing at any one thing besides, being a little bit clutch. He is able to get in that end zone when he needs to. But overall, there's some better dudes on this list.
Definitely agree. I think we all got some good honorable mentions, but let's get into the top 10.
Hey, nice miss.
Wow.
Yeah. So we just talked about Isaiah Pacheco and Najee Harris. Isaiah Pacheco, the funny angry man run memes and everything. I think they're, funny, but he is he gonna be a stud this year? Potentially. I don't see him cracking into anywhere near the top 5. I don't think he's gonna have like solid stats, I guess. I mean, pretty just number 10, maybe number 11 running back of the year type stats. Kansas City just has too many options with Pat Mahomes and wide receivers. I know last year we said their wide receiver core was terrible, but I mean, they didn't even utilize Pacheco like everyone was thinking they would. He was still, like I said, right around that number 10 slot last year. So he was just hovering there all season, and I think it's going to have some similar repeat this year.
Yeah.
I'll just piggyback off that really quick. I'm actually a lot higher on Pacheco than 10th, but I didn't want to put him any higher yet, only because if we look 2 years ago when he kind of came on the scene, taking over for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was pretty rough, pretty raw. He couldn't catch the ball worth jack shit. Then last year, you saw him start to catch the ball a little bit better. They start to use him a little bit more. Obviously, they gave him a ton of workload in terms of run, which, yeah, he wasn't very efficient. But I like the fact that he seems to be getting better at something every year, and that kind of shows me promise.
Mhm.
And I didn't take him in any of my fantasy this year just because he got taken before I wanted to. But I do think this year will be a big year for him. Either he's going to take that next step or he's kind of just going to fall off. I think this is a real big year for him, especially given next year's a really big running back draft. So
Right.
I think he can play himself to a really nice contract if he gets there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think unlike Kyron Williams, the Chiefs have at least gone pretty far to commit to him too, which is a good sign that he'll have this season. If he's good, we'll know it by the end of this season, probably. And yeah, I think Najee Harris is a little bit underrated. I think Najee Harris is more of a product of some bad offensive coordinators. I think he's a product of a really bad offensive line. But when you look at what he does, he is a really good physical runner. For some reason, Matt Canada had Najee Harris doing like jet sweeps
Poor
and
coach.
outside zones, and Najee Harris should be used like Derrick Henry. You should be doing up the gut. You should be having him initiate contact. And if you do that, you're going to see him run downhill and bowl dudes over, and he's going to have
Right.
5-6 yards of carry, which is amazing. And he's a really good red zone back too, and surprisingly can catch the ball better than most running backs who have that kind of archetype. So I think he's like severely, severely underrated, and I think it's worth a nod here. Again, sort of like with Isaiah Pacheco, with Arthur Smith as the OC, who made Derrick Henry who he is today. I think that's Najee's best chance of really breaking out.
Mhm. Brian, you want to go into Travis Etienne here?
Yeah. All right. Travis Etienne. I think he is a guy that's just he's good. He's good. I don't know if he's great. I think he's a little bit overrated, but especially in the fantasy community because he's such a workhorse guy and he catches the ball. Travis Etienne has had fumbling issues his first couple of years. Last year, I don't think he was particularly efficient. In the beginning of the year, they were really trying to get they tried to get Tank Bigsby involved, and Tank Bigsby sucks. And so if they're nervous about Travis Etienne and constantly drafting running backs and putting them in the mix, when I think that's kind of a warning sign. But again, he's really fast. He's strong. He can carry the ball. I just don't think that he deserves a top 5 spot at this point. So that's why I have him at 9.
Interesting. For my number 9, I have Alvin Kamara. I think he is definitely on the edge of his career. Very much so. He's 29 right now. Last season, he was always hovering right around that 10, 11, 12 slot for top running back of the week and everything. He had a couple really bad weeks, and I think 3 times he cracked into the top 5, but they were spaced out, not like consistently back to back to back. So I have to imagine his production is going to be declining, but I don't think the Saints are ready to commit to Jamal Williams fully quite yet. I could honestly see the Saints, if they don't figure it out this season, taking one of the best running backs next year in the draft and just replacing Alvin Kamara rather than committing to any of their however many backups they have on their team. His actual production with that workload is going to decline. What he's going to do with that workload is going to go down. So I don't think he's going to be like as fantasy relevant as he obviously has been in his career. He's still going to be one of the top guys, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be, your dependent RB 1 or 2 on any fantasy list.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though. When Alvin, dude, that guy was the most fun guy to watch. Mine is probably Todd Gurley when he was at his peak.
Mhm.
Dude, he was so fun. Like he would turn a 2-yard play into a 99-yard touchdown. You'd just be like, well, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. He probably won some people their fantasy championships.
Definitely.
Maybe someone in this room won fantasy.
Bingo. Yeah. I was part of it. What was it he scored? Like it was 50 or something like that, right? When he had his like 4 touchdown day.
3 rushing touchdowns. He had like 100 yards. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that was good. Those were good years. I have Josh Jacobs. Very similar to what Brian was saying with Najee Harris. I think a lot of Josh Jacobs is he's kind of stuck on the shit ass Raiders. They're terrible. I don't think they even know what they're doing. And I'm more so projecting on, I think, with the Green Bay being so offensive focused, that I think they're going to be able to, with Matt LaFleur, kind of get him into better sets, and he's going to be able to run the ball a lot better. Plus, he's only 26 years old. I just had to look that up because I thought he was older, honestly.
Mhm.
But still being 26, I think he's kind of entering his prime, this 26, 27, 28 years.
Right.
So I actually look for him to do pretty well in the Green Bay offense. I didn't want to put him anywhere higher than this, but I do think he deserves being in that low echelon 8, 9, 10 area.
Yeah.
So for me here, I'll touch on Travis Etienne since Brian brought him up last. But yeah, for me, Travis Etienne, he had a really hot start last year. Was consistently top 5, top 6 guys each week, and then sort of, I don't know what happened, but after their bye week, just plateaued essentially. He wasn't like scoring as much, or his production fell as well. Like he was getting 10-20% less of the ball. And I know we just mentioned about being 25, 26 in his prime, but been with the Jags, and he hasn't helped propel them to like a solid playoff run or anything along those lines. So I have to imagine if he has like a pretty solid year this year, do the Jags maybe sell him off somewhere or something and look different avenues? I'm not too sure. I think there's just question marks around Travis Etienne. In what he is going to have for the future, and I don't know that it's with the Jags, but definitely very good running back. Scores quite a few touchdowns when he's given those opportunities. If he can break out, he's in the end zone. But I mean, I just don't know what's going to happen with him in the near future here. So
Yeah, fair enough. All right, I'm going to jump right into Jonathan Taylor then. I think Jonathan Taylor is a guy that could be in that top 5. However, injuries, contract talk, bad offensive line,
right.
Injured offensive lines, I should say. The Colts offensive line isn't terrible, but injured offensive lines, bad quarterback play, rookie quarterback play, all these things kind of contribute to Jonathan Taylor not producing like a number 1 running back in his draft. But when you watch him play, he plays like a number 1 running back in his draft. I think he looks a lot like prime Zeke Elliott, maybe with some better hands. I think he's strong. He's got good balance and good vision. He can break off big runs, but he's, again, a guy who's probably going to grind your team to dust, and he's going to get 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards the whole way down the field and then run in for an easy touchdown. He's just that kind of guy. And I think with Anthony Richardson back there, his production is going to go crazy. That read option is going to be nice. And yeah, I think we're going to start to see that production kind of pick up here with Jonathan Taylor. I think he's approaching underrated territory again, just like Najee Harris.
Yep.
These are guys that were drafted as their number 1 running backs in their draft, and a couple of off years that have nothing to do with their actual skill, like injuries and offensive line play and OCs, contribute a lot more to their downside. So that's kind of an insight into why my list is looking the way it's looking. I think these guys have skill, and that's why I put them in their top 10, even though the production is not there yet. Jonathan Taylor will produce this year. That's a promise.
Okay. Love it.
Facts.
A hot take.
Yeah.
Again, I think if he does produce, 8 will be low for him. I think next year he'll probably move up past a couple of guys I got up next. So
Right.
I have Jahmyr Gibbs. I honestly wanted to put him way higher, but he's for some reason the Lions, I mean, they make it work. They love this running back by committee. They always seem to find it when they used to have Swift. And then they had Williams for a while. Like, they just love this kind of running back by committee, and it works well for them. I would love to see him in an every down kind of role, but unfortunately he's got another really good running back that he's with.
Mhm.
So I can't put him any higher, but when he gets the ball, I honestly think he's the young version of Kamara. He's like the next version that's probably a little bit better overall. Like any chance he gets the ball, it could be a touchdown, and it's very fun to watch.
Yep.
I'm thinking of like, I think it was their playoff game last year, that one where he had a little bubble screen and he broke like 7 tackles and just bouncing off people and ended up getting a touchdown. He's just fun to watch. And he's only 22, 23. So like he's got a bright future. The only thing I kind of worry about is guys like him that are so explosive and not the biggest in size. There's always, for some reason, some kind of injury. So I just kind of hope he stays healthy. But obviously, I'm sure everyone's got him on this top 10 list. I just can't put him quite high enough yet because he only gets maybe 25% of the workload. But what he does with that is super impressive.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that hamstring injury is concerning too.
I will jump right into Jonathan Taylor quick. Jonathan Taylor, a lot of injury prone, a lot of question marks around if he can stay healthy for a season. He's very good when he does get the ball. He scores scores touchdowns. He's definitely capable of doing it. It's just if he can work with the Colts offensive line, like Brian said, a couple bad years with that line. If he can, hopefully they've improved that where he can work around and have a pretty solid season.
Yeah.
Well said.
You want to go with Saquon?
Yeah, I'll go old Saquon here. At this point, I don't know. Like, I feel like I could just say he's like the great value brand of Jonathan Taylor at this point because he's been stuck behind maybe the worst offensive line of all time. The Giants just can't seem to figure it out. And then I think that plays a huge role in why he's always getting hurt. His usage is through the roof. So we never really got to see like prime Saquon, like Penn State Saquon, besides that 1 year when he really went off. And last year he did okay. But I'm just not sure with the Philly. There's so many dudes on that team. How much usage is he really going to get? Is he going to stay healthy ever again? I'm just not sure. He's obviously getting older every year. But I still think just on hype and potential alone being in that offense, if they do want to devote all of their attention to the passing game, then Saquon's about to eat. And I'm here for it. Go for it, man. I like it. I like to watch it. But I don't know if he'll ever get into the top 5 again. I feel like this is kind of his peak right here. 6, 7. That's maybe as high as I'm going to go for the guy.
Fair.
Don't know that I agree, but
someone took third in our fantasy draft, so I believe that you don't agree. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I got here Devin Achane.
I like it.
That would be Devon. I believe autocorrect on my phone sent that as Devin.
Sorry.
Devon Achane.
Here, I can just edit it real quick if you want.
No, Mitch. I'd rather not waste any more of my goddamn time.
All right.
Devon Achane. I think he is the most electric running back in the NFL right now. And when I tell you I first made this list and I had Devon Achane at fucking 2, I had Devon Achane at 2. I really, really like Devon Achane. I think the problems with Devon Achane are obvious in the fact that we have had such a small sample size. The dude was like, I want to say like literally 24% of the snaps or something like that last year. He was hurt for a lot of the time, but dude, 7.9 yards a touch is just ridiculous. He is so fast. He is one of those guys that is like, by the time if you're watching him run, he is past everybody before you even realize he has the ball sometimes. Like, if you're a defender, he is behind you. Like, if you're the defensive line, he's behind you by the time you know he has the ball. It's absolutely insane. And I think one of the things that I was really concerned about, because I was like all over the place with him, I looked at some of his stats. He is also a guy who is not bad about contact. So it's not even like he's a guy who gets touched and he falls down. He was a top 10 running back in yards after contact. You got to imagine that what that is guys going for his ankles and hitting his ankles, and he's gone. Like, he's past them already because he's so fast. And he's got good balance. He's got good vision. I think this year when Mike McDaniel was like, hey, every running back is going to be out there eating, I believe him. I believe that Mostert is going to be out there for a lot. I believe A-Chain is going to be out there a lot, in particular with pass downs. And you have Jalen Wright come in there sometimes. They're just an insanely fast running back room, and Devon A-Chain is, by far the most electric of those guys so far. So I think he deserves to be on this top 10 list. And again, if he has anywhere close to the production that he had last year, 7.9 yards a carry, and able to get through contact, able to catch the ball, able to run, this is a guy we're talking about, like Chris Johnson 2.0. Like, we're talking about an electric runner who's going to put up crazy numbers.
I just couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it when he's only played like 7 games. I wanted to.
Oh, I know that sample size is so small, but I think sometimes when you watch the film, you're just like, it doesn't matter. I don't even care.
Yeah.
He's out there for 7 games, and he's the best player in the field every time he's out there. Like, it almost doesn't matter to me. But obviously, that is the big concern, right? Is he could be out of the league in 2 years with injuries.
Right.
We have no idea.
Yeah. And you like your small, fast guys, i.e. Devin Hester.
No idea. Nick Chubb and Rashad White.
I was gonna say,
Bro.
Dylan,
gonna
let's
give
let's
you
get into this Nick Chubb
Devon
debate
A-Chain.
here. Come on.
We have these two guys coming up here.
Yeah, I only have Nick Chubb this low because he
This
broke
low.
his leg. He broke his leg in 3 spots. So I'm gonna put him at 6, and I'm gonna let you know right now. If he's healthy, I'm putting Nick Chubb at 1 wholeheartedly. I'm wholeheartedly putting Nick Chubb at 1. I just really like to watch Nick Chubb, dude. The guy's just a animal. He runs hard. He catches the ball pretty well, all things considered. Other than he just died, was pretty damn reliable up until that point. Like, the Browns were giving him so much usage, and I just really liked watching him. I don't know what he's going to be after that, so I couldn't put him in my top 5, which made me very sad. But before he got injured, it was always he was always in the top 3 discussion. Like, I injury or not, I mean, if we're gonna have old A-Chain that's played 7 games, I got to put the guy that was the number 1 running back like 2 out of the last 5 years on there. Like, that's insane not to. So shout out Nick Chubb, baby.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think my thing with Nick Chubb is that he's going to be out of the league after next year.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I don't know about out of the league.
So listen, I don't know if our 50 listeners know this about me, but I'm pretty big in the salary, like looking at salary cap, and like that. I feel like that tells us a lot about how teams value their players. Nick Chubb's contract went from a pretty hefty guaranteed contract that extends him 2 years. They changed that to a $1.2 million deal that expires after this season. And they start this season by throwing him on the PUP. So they're saying there's a really, really, really good chance that this is Nick Chubb's last season as a Brown, and he might only get about 12 or 13 games this year, if that. And it just makes me think that, this guy is probably a little bit washed, which is unfortunate because I also had Nick Chubb as my number 1 running back last year. And it sucks that one injury is probably going to be the end of his career. And also, I'd be ashamed of myself if I didn't also shout out Cincinnati Bearcat Jerome Ford being there in Cleveland to kind of carry the rock. And the reports from camp are saying that Jerome Ford looks even better than he looked last year. So, it's a tough road for Nick Chubb. I'm rooting for him elsewhere because he is an amazing runner. In terms of just pure running, he's top 5 for sure when healthy, but I think his career is over, unfortunately. That's why he didn't make my list.
I could definitely see this being his last year on the Browns, like you said, but I don't know about end of career. I think
I think they're not going to do it because Watson's contract kicks in at the end of this year, and so they already said they're in salary cap trouble, and I understand why would you keep a 29, 30-year-old running back. So I don't think I think he's going to get picked up. I mean, Derrick Henry's been used more than that, and I think he's going to be. I think he'll kind of be like that. He'll go to another team if they're good. I think he'll be fine.
I think a good comparison for him would be to look at like Dalvin Cook. Like Dalvin
Really?
Cook.
You think Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, like at least his career trajectory, where it was like he came off an injury, he wasn't as explosive. The team that had him said, "You have one season," and they ended up kind of getting rid of him before that season was even over, and just hasn't been the same. Now he's like maybe going to be productive in Dallas, but he was on the Jets, he was on the Ravens. Like
Yeah,
I think
bounced
Dalvin
around a lot.
really good comparison for like the teams. There are going to be teams who are going to sign him and then see him in camp and then think, oh man, like he is not what he was in Georgia. He was not what he was in Cleveland. Like I think it's unfortunate. Like I said, I'm not shitting on him because I don't like him. I'm shitting on him because unfortunately it's like I don't see a route where he makes a full recovery and he's back to like 2019 Nick Chubb or whatever. Like I don't know, a tough break.
Well,
And I am
I'm
about to
totally
shit
on
on it here for Rashad White. So
I am gonna get into Rashad White here. I personally like Rashad White.
Apparently, yeah,
I
no six. Yeah.
I like watching him, and compared from his first season to his second season, there was major improvement. He was consistently listed in the top 6 to 12 running backs every week. His workload increased a shit ton. He was playing in like 85% of all snaps, and he was one of the best pass catchers for running backs last year as well. When he got the ball thrown to him for targets, he made pretty much every catch. And I think honestly, pass catching running backs are gonna be one of the new, I guess, better roles for the league moving forward. I don't think you're going to see a lot of the traditional just running back players anymore. I think they have to be those hybrid players, and Rashad White for me is going to be that hybrid player for Tampa Bay and continue to have really good success. My issues with him is low touchdowns. They use him a lot, so I don't know if there's going to be injuries in the near future. But I just like watching him play. Yeah, I mean,
He's like the 16th to 20th best running back, probably, right? Like realistically.
no, week to week, he was consistently in the top 6 to 12
Dude,
each week.
I'm looking at his ranks right now in fantasy. He's listed as the
Yeah, that's
16th best
fantasy.
running back. But didn't you say your argument was half your argument was you really like in fantasy? Did you not say that?
No, I said it in week to week. He's listed in the top 6 to 12 based on like stats for each game, like of all the leagues.
6 to 12, and you have him on the high end of that on your list.
I personally like him as well. I think he's a good player.
Well, this isn't like who you want to go on a date with. This is like who we think is a good running back.
Listen, I think he could be in this top 10. Yes, maybe 6 is a little high, but personal bias. Let's say that.
I like it. That's fair. I mean, we all have one. Brian's got a guy who played 7 games. I'm
sorry.
And Brian, you notoriously list rookies in your top lists, so
we
don't give me too much shit here.
Maybe I'll have Jonathan Brooks at number 1 or something.
If I had anybody, you guys know who I'd have it. The other running back I haven't talked about yet. He is my favorite running back from that draft. We're not even talking about that shit. Let's get back to Rashad White. The reason that Rashad White had so many – this is fantasy bias. This is fantasy football bias. Rashad White is not good, brother. He is not good. He touched the ball.
He's just like – okay, I would say just like – but how you said Jonathan Taylor is that guy that'll get 5 yards every run. That's exactly what Rashad White was doing last
year.
And
maybe average the other NFC South teams, which is the worst division in football.
What are you talking about? He averaged 3.6 yards a touch.
Oh, 3.6? That's atrocious.
Only 6.
Yeah, but he played an 85% and got the ball a lot.
That's even worse.
Less than 1,000 yards, 3.6 yards a touch, 6 touchdowns. He was fantasy relevant because he had 64 fucking catches.
Yeah,
that's why he's good.
Pass catching running back.
Yeah, he's a terrible running back, though.
I don't know.
You could have put him on your receiving threats list, and I would have been like, okay, sure. He was like, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the stats here. He was tied for second in carries, but 14th in yards and 17th in touchdowns.
Hey.
And 51st, Mitch, I need you to hear this. There were 50 running backs who averaged more yards on a carry than Rashad White.
And you got him at 6, bro. You got him at 6 at a running back.
You have him number 6. This is the dude. Sometimes I really think fantasy football has ruined football. Because the fact that we're sitting here talking about Rashad White because he has 64 catches and saying he's a good running back, and
That's not
meanwhile,
why I think he's
You
a
said
good
he's a
running
good
back.
pass catching running back.
He
You just said that.
is, but I don't
And
think
he's
that's
not
the
a good
sole
running back.
reason why he's on this list.
He's got
He's-
52 other running backs that are better than
He's
him
versatile.
he's,
In the
he is-
stat of being a good running back, 52 guys are better,
He
and there's
also-
32 teams. So
You also have to look at how much he improved from his first season to second season. He was
and he made it from
consistently-
maybe 100th best running back to 52nd.
Sorry,
so he kept the,
I've got his stats pulled up. You want to know how bad?
Yeah, he was terrible his first year. I saw. He was
Yeah, so
awful.
he averaged 3.6 yards this past year, 3.7 the year before. Oh, what are we doing here, bud? He actually got slightly worse if we're really thinking about it. The 3.7 is still pretty bad. He catches the ball. Okay, I at least
He
be
runs
for
the
real and
ball
be
a
like,
lot,
he-
though. That's the kind of running back that you want. A guy
Yeah, but
who's
he
going to
doesn't do anything with
continuously
it.
run the ball, and
But if he's not doing anything with it, what's the point?
he
He
does.
only gets
though.
3 yards a carry. That's terrible.
That's exactly what Jonathan Taylor was doing. Brian said 5
Jonathan was
yards,
like
5
5.
yards, 5
He's
yards.
3
not-
and 5 are way different.
5 and 3. Yes, exactly. 5 and 3.
Okay, sorry, 5 and 4 yards. Yes, different.
Yeah, but you
Yeah, like 5 yards a carry would be like top 30 in the NFL. 3.6 is, like we said, 51st. It's
I don't know.
that's a huge
here's
gap.
so. Do you want to know my actual hot take, and then we'll move on about this because I think that the rookie that they drafted is going to replace Rashad White.
Bucky Irving, right? Is that Bucky?
Bucky
Yeah.
Irving. I think Bucky Irving is a better runner. He is elusive. He's got great vision. And I think what we're going to see happen is Rashad White will end up kind of being like this pass catching weapon. And they're going to let Bucky Irving get all of the running back carries. Like they're going to put him on the goal line, have a bunch of touchdowns. And Rashad White is going to fade into oblivion and be like an Antonio Gibson and just catch the ball a shit ton because he's not efficient.
And then
Maybe.
next year
We'll
we
see.
can roast you about having the 6 best guys.
If
I'm
that happens,
Shotting this right
but if
now.
Rashad White has a breakout season and finishes as number 3,
Oh, you can rub it in my
Don't
face.
say.
I've got Nick Chubb, a guy that's not even
put it
playing.
anywhere else.
Well, Rashad White's peak was last year, and it was ass. So
We'll see.
like,
My hot take: he's number 6. I'm going with it. I'm sticking with it. I am confident about it.
Oh, Mitch, you have Bucky Irving anyway in fantasy, so you're good, man.
I don't have him.
someone has him. Anyway, all right, we're moving on here. Brees Hall. I think this is a perfect transition because I think the fact that Brees Hall is in people's top 3 is also fantasy related because I think he's somebody that puts up a shit ton of fantasy points, and so people kind of overrate his abilities. He is fast. He is strong. He's got amazing contact balance. That dude stays on his feet no matter what. The Jets are really good at finding these guys who are going to juke you out of your socks and can also break a tackle. But I think you can't really put him in top 5 because he's also had injury concerns. And he's not super consistent. And the Jets are going to use a running back by committee approach. They've shown in the past that they want to do that. And I think they've invested in like Braylon Allen, who is apparently doing really good at camp. They invested in Israel Abankanda, who is an amazing running back as well. So I just think he's getting a little bit overrated because of fantasy, and that's why he doesn't crack my top 5. But he is really, really good at what he is good at, which is, staying balanced and getting to the end zone on these big home run plays.
Now, how do you think he's going to be doing this season with Rodgers coming back? Is that going to influence his production or numbers at all, do you think? Or
Yeah, I think so. He's being, again, not to bring fantasy into it because I think that this is why he's being overhyped. He's being
Mhm.
drafted running back 2. I think he finishes somewhere around running back 4, 5, 6. He's not going to be the kind of guy that people think he is. I don't think he's going to be an every down back. And again, you got to consider that he has been injured 2 years in a row.
Right.
I think people kind of just forget that, and they make a big deal about it when it comes to like Jonathan Taylor, and yet they don't really talk about it with Brees Hall.
Hey, nice.
the
Nice
one
job,
different
guys.
player?
Yeah. King Henry, let him eat. If this was maybe like 3 years ago, I'd probably have him higher. Much of the same things I would say probably about Nick Chubb. I think he's got a couple good years left. Now going to the Ravens, they're such a run heavy and really good at running the ball, whether it be with Lamar or obviously with Derrick Henry. I think having Lamar there is just going to open things up immensely for Derrick Henry. Much better line than the washed up Titans last year as well. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a resurgence. I'm actually pretty excited to see how Derrick does. I don't think I can ever put him any higher than 5 at this point in his career because the man has. I don't know what his total touches are, but I'm assuming it's probably him and like Zeke that are the only guys remotely close that are even still in the league.
Total career wise, or
like his total career is probably absurd.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep him at 5th. I thought about having a little higher, but I'm gonna keep him at 5th.
Yeah. He did lead the league in carries last year. I think that is worth noting.
I am just nervous with him being on Baltimore now and how that offense is going to operate. I don't think he's going to have a bad season by any standard. But I'm just a little nervous on how that's going to work with him there.
They made Gus Edwards look good.
We'll see. So Jahmyr Gibbs, for me, really slow start to last year, but I think that was more so the Lions' fault for over relying on David Montgomery. And once they sort of switched it around a little bit and Jahmyr Gibbs was more the RB1 on the team, he just sort of like exploded from there. Very versatile and great running back. Gets a lot of touchdowns as well. I was looking, he had 12 touchdowns or something last season. It was pretty high for a running back, especially a rookie running back. So I think he's going to be probably cracking into the top 3 this year, potentially, if he can continue that success from last year.
Yeah, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is a guy I hated that they took him in the, I think, 12th overall. I hated the Lions draft process that year. I thought they took 2 good players, but they reached for positional value. Like Mike linebacker and running back are 2 positions that you wait to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round and you pick up the best available guy, and you're usually pretty good with that. So taking those 2 guys in the 1st round that year, I hated that. I told Dawson that. Dawson, fan of the pod, Dawson Knox. Keep that in.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs is a guy that I hated coming out of college. And then I remember the moment I knew it was wrong was week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs that year.
Mhm.
He didn't get a lot of carries. I think he was probably only in that game for 20, 30% of the snaps. He maybe got 5 or 6 carries. But every time he got the ball, you were like, holy shit, man. Like the speed, the ball carrier vision to just get around guys, get to the edge of the sideline and just start taking it up. I was worried that it was going to be one of my worst takes ever to say that was a reach. I really did, because I was like, holy shit, this guy can take it to the house. He's fast. He's elusive. He looked way better than David Montgomery that game, I remember. But David Montgomery fell into the end zone 2 times or some shit, so it didn't matter. But yeah, I remember, it takes a lot for me to instantly change my mind about a guy. And that was me instantly changing my mind. I was like, holy shit, I see the vision now. I understand why they got Jahmyr Gibbs, and he's perfect for that offense.
100%.
Yeah, gotta love him. And I think there are concerns, like I said earlier, about his health and the carries that Montgomery is going to get, because Montgomery is good as well. But yeah, he's awesome.
Yep. I'll jump into Bijan real quick. I think Bijan had a very solid year last year. And I think I'm excited for him this year because I think the Falcons made a lot of off-season moves and had some pretty decent draft picks that is going to benefit Bijan. It's just whether he's actually going to improve. If he can crack into that top 3 this year, I think he's going to consistently be in that top 3 year after year after year. He's just solid running back. He's a big guy. He's 6 foot, I think 220 or something like that. He's a big running back. So I think if he can figure it out with the Falcons here, he's going to have a pretty successful career.
Facts.
Yeah. I love me some Bijan. Yeah, we both have guys that we've already touched on, so I'll do Saquon really, really quick. I think Saquon's in the perfect situation. I think Saquon has always been super talented. We saw it at Penn State. We saw it in short bursts in New York. And I think he's in the perfect situation for him now. I think we might see him enter a little bit of a, dare I say, Rashad White role here, where where maybe he is catching the ball 50, 60, 70 times, and maybe he's not super efficient on the ground because that offensive line is going to be, we don't know how that offensive line is going to work at this point. But I do think they will rely on him for checkdowns. They'll rely on him to do some HB wheels, kind of coming up the backfield, hitting the sideline, some screens. They're going to use him a lot in the passing game. And I think the Eagles are just the perfect place for him. I'm surprised it took this long. The Eagles famously really, really loved Penn State's backfield so much that when they didn't get Saquon, they got Miles Sanders. But they finally got the guy that they've wanted all this time, and I think we're going to see him have his best season yet. And so I kind of have him a little bit higher than maybe we think he should, but like I said, I think he's going to have his best season yet. He's going to be an amazing fit for that offense.
Yeah, I have Brees Hall. I'm going to ride the hype wave for Brees. I would like to see him actually play a full healthy season here. And I think it'll help a lot if old Aaron Rodgers can also stay upright. I think it'll just kind of take some of the pressure off because they'll have a somewhat resemblance of what a passing game should look like. It's been a long time since the Jets have seen that, which I think will allow Brees Hall to run the ball a little more effectively than they have been when before. When you have Zach Wilson, you kind of know what's about to happen.
Right.
He's going to throw it to you, so you can stack the box a little bit more. So I'm excited to see what it looks like. But like what Brian said, they did get other running backs this year, so I'm not 100% sure on that. And they've always kind of done that. Like they were really high on Michael Carter for forever.
Yeah.
And then just kind of sucked
I
dick.
remember that. God,
Hey, I love Michael Carter. Don't you dare.
Dude, yeah, he was fun. He was fun to
Yeah,
watch.
he was a
and they
good
just-
guy. He was a fun running back to root for.
And they just kind of were like, nah, whatever. So I'm gonna ride the hype train one more year on him, and then I might just drop him way out of my rankings if he doesn't produce.
maybe top 25 list, but
Yeah, I got to see it because everyone's always talked about. You've heard all this shit, blah blah blah, since he was at whatever Iowa State or whatever the fuck he was at. So
Mhm.
I need to see him actually produce and stay healthy. And this is his best chance. Who knows what they're gonna have at quarterback after A-Rod leaves?
definitely.
Yeah. I think it's crazy. Like, what are the odds that he plays a full season?
Yeah, maybe that's their take too. Why they have other running backs to
Right.
keep the volume down.
Yeah.
I'll just get into Brees Hall real quick here.
Oh no way, nice.
Sort of like what Dylan said. I think he's going to actually benefit from Aaron Rodgers being back to help reduce his workload, but allow him to be more elusive with the workload that he gets. Not like, significantly reduce his workload, but allow him to create those opportunities that I think everyone knows he can create. And then I was also looking at his schedule. He has a very favorable schedule this year. I think this could be like, if he has a breakout year, it's probably going to be this year. They have a relatively easy schedule on paper.
Mhm.
So I think with that, plus the good quarterback play, it's actually going to help Brees Hall have a pretty standout season this year.
Nice. All right. Bijan Robinson. We have them all kind of here in that same range. Yeah, and again, Bijan's another guy. I had 1, 2, 3. Like, he's really hard to rank because of Arthur Smith. Mostly, you don't really know where to put him. And if you give him a full workload, like, again, this is another dude who could just tear up the league. And I think he is probably the best young running back. I like him more than any of the running backs drafted this year. And I think that was like immediately obvious last year. He had some of the craziest plays on the Falcons offense. He had some really good catches. They used him a lot in the passing game, which is, again, fine. I want to see him carry the rock more this year because I do think he's one of the best pure runners in this league right now. Once he gets the ball in his hand, he's really elusive. He's got a sick juke move. He's got a sick spin move. So I do want to see them use him more between the tackles and use him more as a true 3-down back. And I think that they will do that. I think with Kirk Cousins being the quarterback, I think they're going to want to lean a little bit more on their weapons and like Bijan and Kyle Pitts and Drake London to kind of do what they do best. And, Bijan's he's a good running back. So they're going to let him do that instead of doing what Arthur Smith would do, which is to set him up on these HB slip screens where he sits on like the sideline and then picks up 3 yards and gets smashed by a safety. So, I'm really looking forward to watching him. I'm really excited about Bijan.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say about that. More so, I'm pretty excited when Kirk Cousins gets the fuck out of there so we can see Michael Penix, the real QB at Atlanta. Yeah, this is another one, probably just like Brees. I'm just going off the hype. Another guy that everyone's like, this guy's generational. This guy's incredible. Well, now's his chance. I want to see it. We got a new sheriff in town there for Atlanta. Old Raheem, what's Raheem's last name? Morris.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. So I want to see it. I see all the hype videos. He seems like a really fun coach. I watch all like those team meeting things, and he just seems like a cool guy. He sounds like a real players coach, and I think he's going to let Bijan just eat. And I'm excited to see that. And like Brian said, he's got all the talent in the world. So there's no reason he shouldn't be top 5 for everyone at this point.
Right.
Yeah. Agreed. Oh boy. Okay. I'm sure we'll. Let me talk about Derrick Henry.
Go for it.
All right, Derrick Henry.
Let's go, Baltimore boy.
The Baltimore Ravens last year had the most efficient running game. They've had a top 3 efficient running game ever since Lamar Jackson entered the league. So I don't think it's I'm not as concerned, I guess, as Mitch is concerned about Derrick Henry's fit in Baltimore. I do think they will ease him with the touches. I think Harbaugh loves what's his name? Justice Hill. Harbaugh loves Justice Hill. So Justice Hill, I think, will kind of be a 3rd-down back. They're going to throw him the ball.
Keaton Mitchell's still there, right?
Keaton Mitchell's there. He's coming off an injury, so I think they're going to ease him back too. But I think Derrick Henry's not going to have like this insane 280 carry season like he had last year. I think it's going to be more like 180 to 200, maybe 220 tops. And they're going to save him for the playoffs because I think when you look back to the thing that they struggled in the postseason, it was running the ball.
Right.
I believe they only had 6 rush attempts by running backs in that game and another like 3 or 4 by Lamar. And that was a game that was a 1-score game for a lot of it. And they just weren't running the ball, and they're the best team at doing that. So I think they're going to let Derrick Henry feast later in the season, especially in the playoffs. And I've heard a lot of people on the internet call Derrick Henry the Tom Brady of running backs, where you don't bet against him regardless of his age until he shows a decline. And he hasn't shown a decline. Last year he was Derrick Henry. He did what Derrick Henry always does. He was a beast in the red zone. He broke off huge runs. He had an amazing, like, his stiff arm is the best stiff arm we've seen in football easily. There's another guy on this list that we talked about today, Rachaad White, who was second in touches and averaged 3.7 or 3.6. Sorry. Derrick Henry is the only running back who had more carries and averaged 4.2 and had double the touchdowns and was way more efficient in an offense that was less efficient, I think, than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he's only going to get better because he's going to a better system. He's a better running back. And I think, he's the king. They call him King Henry for a reason. So I'll stop glazing Derrick Henry now.
Yeah, come on, check your pants. Check your pants. Come on.
I've always loved Derrick Henry, man. Even that his rookie year when he looked like he was a complete bust, I was still like, I don't care. He's fucking massive and he's clearly strong. Just give him the ball a bunch. Like, it's gonna work out. And I'm glad that the Tennessee Titans decided to do that because he's been so much fun to watch these past couple years.
I knew your top three. I could have done your top three. Mitch, you never fucking know because he puts wild cards.
Yeah,
But I
well, it does
knew
look
your
like
top three.
Hey, good call. Well, hey, I don't have that white boy at number one. I'm kidding. We all know who everyone's number one is. Hopefully.
Yeah. I didn't want to put him in for that very reason. Mitch, you want to go or me?
You can go ahead.
All right, I have Jonathan Taylor extremely high compared to
Yes.
everybody else on this list.
Very much so.
I love it. But once a former number one overall running back, so I don't feel too bad about that. And looking at the guys that we all have at number two, one of them I could very well see being the number one running back next year. Besides the guy that's up there, like out of any of the one, it's going to be one of those three if I had to pick, or Bijan probably. So one of us is going to be right, and we're all going to be pretty close. I'm pretty high on the Colts. My hot take is that they're going to be pretty good this year. I'm a big believer in Shane Steichen. Everywhere he's been a hella good coach, especially on the offensive side. That's what he does. And then everywhere he leaves, they kind of take a dip. I mean, look at Hurts. He took a huge dip from when he was there. I believe he was with Justin Herbert before that. He's taken a dip. So he's really, really good with that, really good on the offensive side. And I think he's going to turn things around. And now that Jonathan Taylor's decided not to be a dick face and hold out and be a little bitch boy like he was being, we can get back to football. And then now that they do finally have a competent quarterback, I think it's very similar to the Breece Hall situation where they're not going to have to load the box as much. I think Richardson's going to be able to pass the ball a little bit, and they're going to have to worry about him rushing. So similar probably to Derrick Henry as well, where like you've got a two-headed monster there. You're going to have to figure it out. So I really think that's going to open it up for him, and I think he's going to get back to what he used to be. And he catches the ball really well, which is nice for a young quarterback like that maybe isn't going to read the field as well, which I don't think Anthony Richardson does very well. He's such an easy dump-off option, which is just more going to pad his stats. So, yeah, I'm pretty high. That's going to be my big hot take. Jonathan Taylor comeback season, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
I could definitely see it off, honestly.
Yeah, looking back, I maybe had him too low. Honestly, that was a pretty compelling argument. I think I probably should have put him above Breece and Devon, but
Maybe above Rashad White for me.
Jesus Christ, dude, I'd certainly fucking.
Yeah, ask 32 GMs. Do you want Rashad White or Jonathan Taylor? Yeah, I'll take Rashad White.
Every episode, there's one take that just pisses me. That was the one, dude.
I still think Saquon is pretty close to top three consistently and is going to be fighting for that number one spot, I think, in the future once our number one consensus guy is out of the league.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk
Saquon's just going to be that guy going forward, honestly.
Whoa, well, they're about the same age, so I don't know if they're going to.
I still think Saquon is going to have a little bit of a better longevity than.
He's been injured like 75 times.
I guess, but I don't know. I still think.
When I think longevity, I think the opposite of Saquon.
So has the top guy, though. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
He's been hurt a lot.
Oh, who's? Yeah, Christian? Yeah.
Do we just get into it?
Yeah,
it's fine. We should get into it.
I mean, they both did they not come in the league? It was the same time, right? They were the same draft. They're both 20.
I can't remember if it was the same draft, but they are very similar in age. I think
they're both 28. I just checked.
Yeah,
well, Saquon's going to be 28 by the end of the season, and Christian just turned 28. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, his birthday. I saw his birthday Instagram post. So.
Heck yeah.
Looked like a very fun wedding. It was interesting that he didn't invite. Never mind. Never mind.
Honestly, it pisses me off that we have to put Christian McCaffrey here. That for some reason it just pisses me off.
Yeah, he's
too good though. Like you can't not list him at one.
He is the reverse Nick Chubb a little bit because last year I would have really dunked on him, man, because I don't think he's very efficient in the run game. I don't think he's like really good at any one thing in the running game. Like he's kind of like Jamar Chase in my opinion, and as a running back, like he's good. He's going to put up a bunch of points, but I think it was because they relied on him so heavily in Carolina, and then in San Francisco, it's a system that he thrives in.
Mm-hmm.
But This last year just made it really, really fucking hard not to put him at 1. He
Right.
was actually the most efficient running back. He was the yards leader. He had the insane touchdown streak. I don't like him. But he is the best running back today. And I hope the fall off is hard, man. I hope he falls off so hard. I root against
I just
him
don't see it though. Like
I really
it's
so
I
bad.
think
it's hard
I
to
think
see
he's
a
got
fall
2.
off with him. Like I don't know that it's gonna be as like extreme as you are hoping.
I think the fall off. The fall off comes from what we just talked about, where he is low key injury prone. We forget because he's been healthy,
Mhm.
relatively healthy for the past couple of years. But before those 2 years, there was a real concern that Christian McCaffrey was going to tear his ACL every season because he just was
Yeah.
always injured, and it was always non-contact, and it was scary injuries that kept him out all year. So I think that's how the fall off does happen. If it does happen,
Mhm.
it's going to be
Yeah.
gets injured and he's never himself again.
If he
Well,
can
and-
if he can stay healthy though, he's gonna be like, the Derrick Henry where he's, still 30 years old going to a really good team and gonna be
I don't-
back
I don't know if
on the
I
goal
don't
line
think
for the touchdown. Like
This is
maybe, but he's not a power back. He's a finesse back. He's not a
Right.
power back.
So that's what I was going to say. Is like his game is not going to age as well as Henry's. Henry does not have to be fast and juke the shit out of someone to be good. Christian McCaffrey relies very heavily on can he catch it, can he juke, can he get out of contact. Derrick Henry is like, I'm going to walk and you just can't get me down because I'm fucking huge. So I think the longevity there is, I don't know if Christian McCaffrey is going to be able to play till he's like 31, 32.
I think next year is it for him regardless because, I mean, if you look at the 49ers cap space, they're fucked after next year. There's
Yeah.
no way they can
well
pay
if
all
the
their guys.
49ers if he still has a good season, they're gonna send him somewhere. Some team will pay for
Oh,
him.
he's got a
There's-
4-year deal. He's set, but they won't be able to sign anyone else. And if he's the workhorse at 29, 30, back to like what he was in the Carolina offense, no way he stays healthy. Right now, it's good because they can give Debo some looks. They can obviously they have so many targets around that he can
Right.
kind of take some of that load off. But if he's back to the workhorse, oh, good luck because they're not bringing Debo back. He's done next year. They're gonna have to sign old fucking Purdy to a big boy deal, not 800,000. They've got the Greenlaw. They've got everybody.
I'm developing a take, and it's not cooked yet. It's still a little bit raw in the middle.
Okay.
But my take is, of all the guys on that team, I think the one they're going to let walk is Brock Purdy.
Really, I think it's
I-
I know they're letting Debo go next year.
Yeah.
Yes, Debo's probably a given, but with Kittle, CMC, Ayuk, Bosa, Trent Williams is probably going to get signed here. I think the odd man out might be Purdy, and it just like I think that the coaches know that it's not Purdy. I think they agree with us, with me and Dylan, and most football fans. I think they agree that Brock Purdy is just a really good system quarterback, and I think it'll be a Tua situation where it's like if they can't find a good number for Purdy, I think they let him walk.
Well, if he keeps putting these stats up too, he's going to think he is like that, and he's going to be like Dak right now, where like, yo, I want $60 million a year, and they can't afford that. So
yeah, I think it'll be a really shocking decision for the Niners. I think people are not really prepared for the fact that they're going to have to make that decision next year, and it might not work out where they can keep everybody. And obviously, the alternative is, well, maybe they trade Ayuk, maybe they trade Bosa, maybe they trade somebody, maybe they cut somebody else, Kittle, maybe.
I think it's Super Bowl or bust this year. This is like a big year for them.
It is a big year for them. So, I do think, like we just talked about, McCaffrey is a huge part of that offense.
Mhm. Definitely.
To bring it back full circle, he is the 49ers offense, and the 49ers offense is really, really good. It sucks that he's up there because I don't like him. I really don't. I never liked him in Carolina. I thought it was the same shit
He's
in
growing
Carolina.
on me.
Okay. I don't think he's a good runner, but that's fine. I mean, at least we all have a consensus on this one. I feel like
it was hard not to. Like,
it's tough.
I wanted to put him somewhere else just because I knew we would have one. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. I don't
There's
care.
just no. And again, I looked at efficiency. I was like, well, he's not efficient because he's never been efficient. I was like,
Yeah.
and then I looked at it and I was like, he's number one.
yeah.
Yeah, no, last year you're right. I mean,
That
he
offense.
yeah, last year he just went off, and there's nothing
Yeah.
unfortunately we can say. But the running back list changes every year. It's so hard to stay at the top. I mean,
Right.
look, we talked about Nick Chubb before, Derrick Henry before, Jonathan Taylor, Chris
Yeah.
McCaffrey. Like they've all been there.
Yeah. I think I mean, that's a good point because I think the only guy in my top 5 that has been in my top 5 last year was Derrick Henry. Like, I
Yeah.
think, and I look at your guys' list. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but there's a lot of guys on this list that are really, really young. And I
Yeah.
think that it goes to speak to the value of running backs where it's like the window is so small for them. It's like
Exactly.
3, 5 years. And then they're in and they're out and they're in and they're out. And you don't have a lot of consistency at that position.
And college football produces it's the same thing at receiver too. Like
Yeah.
they produce so many. These young guys are going to keep coming in. They're going to keep
Mm-hmm.
taking these. Like, why would you pay a second contract of 14, 15 mil a year when you can just get another young guy like a Jamar Gibbs when you can pay him like no money and
Exactly.
just keep doing that cycle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, that was our list here. Let us know in the comments whether you agree, disagree. Give us your hot takes. Who had the worst and best list? And we will
You,
see
Mitch.
you
You got
next
Rashad White.
episode. See ya.